So we already know 9 out of 10 businesses are going to fail within their first 5 years. Literally 9 out of 10. And here's the part that most people do not want to hear. The majority of those failures were not because the idea was actually bad or even the work ethic was terrible. It was because there was no actual plan. A business plan is not a boring document you hand to a bank and forget about it. If it's done right, it is the single most important tool and blueprint you will build before you ever even open your doors. And today I'm going to walk you through every step of writing one, from the vision all the way through actually taking action and launching. There's 9 steps, so let's get into it. Think about it. Think about it this way. You would not build a house without a blueprint. You would not drive somewhere without having navigation or a plan of where you're going. A business plan is both of these things at once. It's literally the blueprint for what you are actually building, as well as the roadmap that tells you how to get there. So beyond having just the strategic value, a business plan does something else that most people underestimate. It forces the clarity, the precision when executing. When your ideas are still just in your head, it feels completely chaotic. The moment you have it written down with execution, you discover very quickly which parts are solid and which parts you were just assuming would figure it out by themselves. That clarity early on is what's going to separate businesses that thrive from businesses that close. So, I'm Brittany Calloway, and my job is to help you guys turn credit into capital and capital into freedom. So I've broken this down into 9 clear steps. And if you follow all of them genuinely, not just skimming, you really will finish this video with understanding how to truly launch a successful business with a framework that you can use and duplicate across different industries. So stay with me. Number 1, we got to define the vision. Now that may sound so corny to some people, but every business starts with this vision and not really a clear picture of what it is they are supposed to be doing to become that successful business. So right now in this moment, you probably have that picture in your head. You know what you want to build. You know what it should feel like when it's working. The problem is the clarity, right? That fades, and it will fade fast because life gets in the way. The day-to-day operational grind takes over. And without something really, truly written down to anchor you, the vision you started with gets blurry, clouded, and muddy, and is not enough to push you through the tough days. And that's how things start to get lost. But when the vision, and especially if the vision is gone, decision making becomes reactive instead of intentional. And that is when businesses start really drifting off course and going in too many different directions. So defining the vision needs to focus around what you as a business owner want. And you have to know what are your strengths and what do you need to focus on versus what do you need help with or partners or workers to do. That's not your strength. You can't do everything as you won't grow or scale. So you really need to know when thinking of the vision, the clear plan and what are you going to be responsible for and what's needed to now outsource to scale and grow the business and how does that all get executed as a life of a business owner. That way, writing your vision down is not just a feel-good exercise, it becomes the filter for every major decision in your actual business. So does this new partnership actually align with what we are trying to do? Should I put my time and energy into it? Does this product idea serve the customer we set out to actually serve? So every daily activity in your business should be traceable back to the actual vision and plan. If it is not, you are spending your energy going sideways instead of really moving it forward. So this is your foundation. Get on paper first and the rest will execute. Step 2, we have to have now real clear goals with metrics and objectives. So a common mistake is most new business owners either set their goals that are so vague they're useless. I want to grow my business. I've heard that so many times. Or they play it safe and so small that the goals don't actually push them anywhere meaningful. So both are wrong, in my opinion. Think big. We have to get specific on the goals need to actually operate on 3 timelines. You have your short-term goals. What are we doing to achieve within the next 12 months? Those are the goals that are going to keep you moving week to week. The midterm goals are sit in that 2 to 3 year window, right? The milestones that show you are actually building something real. And then, of course, our long-term goals, right, are the bigger picture ones. We do the same thing with funding, right? We got to know our funding short-term goals, the mid, and then even down the road, right, for the bigger plays that we're looking to do. How you set that up is all super important. And for each time frame, we have to be specific. What revenue do we want to generate? How many customers need to actually be in your database or in your pipeline? How many sales do you need to now have? What does a target market look like? The age, the range, the location, behavior. What level of passive income systems are we going to start now putting in place that we want the business to be producing, and by what timeline, right? So these vague goals produce vague results. We need to be very specific with goals that give us something to build toward and something to now really measure against. So really write the numbers, write the dates. Let's really make it real. Step 3, we really need to define your unique selling proposition. And I can't tell you how so important this is comparison when people start their business. Because here's the question that will define your entire marketing strategy. Why would a customer choose you over everyone else offering something similar? Not why would they choose your industry, why would they specifically pick you, your business, your brand? That answer is your unique selling proposition, or your USP as they say. And it does not have to be some dramatic, revolutionary innovation. It just has to be something real and something that we can now really measure that matters to your actual customer. It could be something simple too, faster delivery. It could be better after sales support. It could be a more personal experience. It could be a price point, a guarantee, specializations, or even just a combination of some smaller things. But again, it has to be something that no other competitor is truly doing together. Whatever it is, it needs to be clear, honest, and specific. A USP is not a tagline, it's not a promise. It really tells your customer exactly what they are getting from you that they cannot get anywhere else. So when you're writing your actual plan, this section is what makes your entire customer strategy make sense to you and to your customer. If you cannot clearly articulate why someone should actually choose you, you are going to suffer in marketing and sales, and it's always going to be a struggle to convince them to actually purchase from you. Step 4, you have to know your market. And here's something that just stops a lot of the first-time founders just cold out. They come up with a great idea, they start trying to build momentum, they start building it, and then they find out someone is already doing it already. And then they panic. They get into this like, well, I don't want to copy. I'm still trying to figure it out. How do I enter into the marketplace? They think the opportunity is gone, and it's not. How many gas stations are on the same street? How many coffee shops exist in the same city? Markets are almost always large enough to support multiple businesses offering similar things. So competition is not a death sentence, right? It's actually proof that there is demand. But the real issue is not whether competitors exist, it's whether you understand the market well enough to really carve out your place in the marketplace. So your market research needs to answer these questions clearly. Who are your competitors, right? And what exactly do they offer? What are the current trends in your actual industry? And more importantly, where is the industry heading towards? And how can you now get in and get ahead of it? We need to know the benchmarks that exist for measuring performance, right? Gross turnover, profit margins, customer acquisition costs. When you know the inner workings of your market, it's so much easier for you to be able to position yourself intelligently within it instead of just hoping you land somewhere useful, right? So this is not optional. It is one of the most important sections of your entire plan. So we have to take it seriously. If you're watching this and wondering how to actually create a business plan that really fits into your overall even funding strategy, not just the rewards, but the actual credit profile you're building, go ahead and grab a call with my team below at thefundinglounge.com, just so we can obviously support you and help you put this plan in place, short term, mid, and long, especially on the funding goals to get you up and going. Now, customers are not a general category. They are very specific people with very specific habits and specific problems. And you need to know the specific reasons for making the choices that they make. And if you do not know who your customer actually is, not just in broad strokes, but in real detail, you will spend way too much time and money and energy marketing to people who were never going to buy from you and having conversations or trying to get in front of people, again, who are not your customer. So here's the exercise that actually works. Put yourself directly in your ideal customer's shoes, not as a business owner trying to sell to them, something, right? But more so trying to solve a problem for them or a need that they really have to have met. What are they looking for? What would make them choose one option over another? What would even make them come back to purchase again? What would make them tell someone else about you? We have to really define our target customer by age, range, location, income level, lifestyle, and more importantly, buying behavior and patterns. Then we need to go deeper. What actually motivates their decisions? What frustrates them about existing options that don't really cater to them? What do they value most? When you actually understand the motivation behind a customer's actions, you can truly stop guessing, right, what to offer them and start really building exactly what they actually want and need. That focus is what turns a decent business into a loyal customer-based enterprise. Next step, we need to research the demand for your business. This is a step that also saves people from expensive mistakes like running ads for a marketplace that you don't know about, your demographic is. Because you can have a brilliant idea, a clear vision, and a defined target customer and still build something that nobody actually wants to buy right now. That is why demand research is non-negotiable in this process. And you need to do this before you invest seriously into your business. The fundamental rule is straightforward. Demand should exceed supply. If your market has far more people wanting a product than there are businesses actually providing it, you have room. If the market is already saturated with way too many options and customers are spoiled for choice, you need a much sharper angle to survive in the market. Neither scenario is automatically good or bad, but you have to know where you stand, right? And which one you are going to be walking into. You can start your research from home, industry reports, government data, public libraries, trade publications, but I truly believe the best research by a significant margin is just going to be primary research. You have to get out and talk to your actual target audience and asking them directly what they want, what they are currently using, and how willing they are to switch or to try something new, and why would they switch and try something new. The insights you get from real conversations are worth far more than anything you will find in a spreadsheet or even ads and spending money that's just not getting you ROI. So do this before you invest your savings, right? Or raising capital, not after. Let's not go backwards. Next, you have to set your marketing goals. You have done the research now. You know your market, your customer, and now you know the demand picture. Now the question is, how are you going to now reach people, and what does success look like when we come down and really get into the nitty-gritty of the metrics? That is what the marketing goal has to answer. Marketing goals are not vague aspirations. They are specific, measurable outcomes that directly support your larger business objectives. So how many units do you need to sell each month to hit your actual revenue target? What does your product development timeline look like? At what price point are you now targeting? And what does that margin need to be? How are you actually getting the product or service to the customer? A lot of these questions need to be answered, and most businesses plan their product and their pricing and then neglect the connection between those decisions that are super important. And their actual revenue goals need to be accounted for in there too as well. Marketing goals force you to make that connection explicit. They turn your revenue targets from hopes into math that you can actually work backwards from. So when you know exactly how many customers you need and at what price point through which channels, you now have the inputs for actual real marketing strategy. This is going to bring me to the next step, defining the marketing strategy, right? Goals tell you where you're going. Strategy tells you how you are actually getting there. And this is the step where most business plans go from vague to genuinely useful, or they stay vague and become super useless. I can't tell you how many line items I've seen for marketing and strategy, and there's really nothing there, right? We need to answer 4 specific questions. First, what product are you actually selling? What does it look like in full detail? Next, the price point, and at what margin does your pricing need to sit to deliver the revenue your goals require? The third is now distribution. How does the customer get what you are selling? What is the fulfillment model? What is your actual coverage area? What are the logistics picture, right? And then fourth is promotion. What channels are you actually using? Are you using social media, paid advertising? Is it YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, right? Email campaigns, in-person partnerships, word of mouth referrals. We got to be really specific. Which ones and in what combination? And why those for this particular audience? Vague strategy is not strategy. It is truly just a wish list. The more specific you are here, actual platforms, actual formats, actual budget allocations, and actual timelines, the more your business plan truly is going to now become something you can really execute against rather than something that just sits in a drawer. So we need to be planning for the unexpected in this. What happens if your primary channel stopped performing, right? What would you do? What would be the contingency? That kind of thinking in advance is what truly separates founders who adapt from founders who get caught off guard. Just as an example, I've seen so many owners spend on ads and depend on ads, and then if something happens, they get caught off guard and don't know what to do to also make more revenue. That can't be you. So next, we also need to take action on steps that actually matter. So here's a hard truth that no business plan can save you from. Without action, every single thing we have covered is going to be completely worthless from this video. Planning is not the destination. Planning is preparation for execution. And execution is truly the only thing that produces results. You can have the most elegant, comprehensive, perfectly researched business plan ever written. And if you never act on it, it's worth nothing. And on the other side of that, you can finish your research and realize the specific idea you started with is just not viable for your marketplace. But that's not failure. That is the plan working and reworking exactly as it is intended to be. Because now you know, and you did not lose everything trying to find out. There are thousands of viable business ideas out there. The right one for you exists, but you have to know yourself, where you're at, and then obviously the research with the marketplace. Your business plan gives you the framework to find it, test it, and build your plan with intention instead of just hoping things work out. The plan needs to provide direction, and the first step is yours to take. Remember, research does not start itself. Goals do not set themselves, and businesses do not build themselves. But you are already here, which means you are already further ahead than most people ever get to. I promise you that. So let's make sure we define the vision, write it down before it gets blurry. Let's make sure we set specific short, mid, and long-term goals, even financial numbers, right? With real numbers, real dates, real data. We got to define the unique selling proposition and make it a real promise, not just a slogan. And we need to make sure we are studying the market inside and out, our competition, the trends, the benchmarks, all in all. And we need to know exactly who your customer is and what actually drives their purchasing decisions, as well as validating the demand before you just invest into that product. So talk to real people to make sure we get this data. And let's set measurable marketing goals that connect directly to revenue targets. So that way we're building a specific strategy across the product line, price, distribution, and promotion. And of course, lastly, taking action. That is the only step that turns everything else into something real and tangible. That's why it's so important to define your own path. And just don't let anyone or anything slow you down from starting. So in my next video, I'm going to show you the funding secret that the banks don't want you to know about in 2026 and what to look out for. See you there.